Okay, following on from Unlimited Power, which is a really significant book for instructors, there was quite a demand to learn more about neuro-linguistic programming. And people used to ask me for recommended books. And to be frank, a lot of the books that are out there and the ones that you might think were the better ones, particularly those that were authored by Richard Bandler, are not really the ones I'd recommend. And the reason is that they're not actually written by Bandler. What they mainly are just really they're different lectures that he has presented, and they have been just written down by someone and transcribed. They're just a transcription. And I remember reading the first one, I was thinking, well, who's he talking to? And tons of members, it's direct transcription, members of the audience and so on. So great books, but not really as a beginning text. And Unlimited Power does explain NLP very, very cogently and simply and in a very practical way. But a lot of people wanted to learn a little bit more and get into it and be able to find stuff they can use. And I found a book written by two English NLP practitioners or experts, and it's this one, Introducing NLP by O'Connor and Seymour. And I've been recommending this for a long, long time. And some of my very, very good friends in America, principally Marcus, give it their endorsement too. It's a really good text to get you into what NLP is about. And I'll just quote a couple of sections. There's a section which kind of explains the background. From these initial models, NLP developed in two complementary directions. Firstly, as a process to discover the patterns of excellence in any field. Secondly, as the effective ways of thinking and communicating used by outstanding people. These patterns and skills can be used in their own right and also feed back into the modeling process to make it even more powerful. So that's kind of the overview of what it's about. And then some of the NLP basic filters are often referred to as behavioral frames. These are ways of thinking about how you act. The first is an orientation towards outcomes rather than problems. This means finding out what you and others want, finding what resources you have, and using these resources to move towards your goal. Now, that basic orientation to solving problems rather than worrying about why the problems occurred is so important. And I found, for example, working with the military guys, starting with Lofty, that was kind of how they did it. If something went wrong, they wouldn't stand around worrying about it. They'd solve the problem, then afterwards, over a cup of tea, have a laugh about why the problem arose in the first place. And it was that kind of attitude that was modeled by the NLP founders. It's all based on how excellent people perform. That's the whole thing about NLP. And the important thing to realize, people who criticize this kind of thing, is that you've got to put it into practice. If you just read the book and are skeptical and then put it down and then a year later say, well, nothing's changed, then obviously it won't have changed. You've got to use the stuff. And as I said in the section on Unlimited Power, we validated a lot of this stuff in the firearms training because it's highly quantifiable. And we found we got results, either faster or more accurate shooting, simple as. And then you can extrapolate that into other physical skills. So I'm confident that it can work. And one of the basic principles of NLP is if something doesn't work, then do something different. You know, it's not carved in stone. It's about human performance. And if you're not finding the results, use feedback and do something different. It's sort of built into the system. And Seymour and O'Connor wrote a book specifically for instructors, training with NLP. And a little bit similar to some of the books I've talked about before. It goes into the structure of lesson plans, designing the design activity structures, presentation skills, trainees' emotional states, learning styles, dealing with difficult people, dealing with questions. That's a big thing for instructors, isn't it? And use of metaphor, which I found very, very useful. So for anybody interested in this kind of thing in NLP, then they're the books I would recommend. They're not expensive and they're still available. Seymour and O'Connor's works.